Hey there, guys and gals. Welcome back to Back Pocket Game Reviews. And today, we're going to talk a little bit about how, well, Borderlands 3 might end up being terrible. I know we've just recently seen some gameplay footage and just got to see some streamers in a sponsored stream getting to play the game. And don't get me wrong, the game overall looks really good. I know there are some people that are complaining that cell shading is a terrible idea in this generation, which makes absolutely no sense to me because, well, cell shading has been kind of Borderlands since the beginning. And the last time people complained about cell shading, The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, it turned out to be one of the best Legend of Zelda games. Again, graphics don't make gameplay, and these kinds of graphics, specifically cel-shaded graphics, tend to be a little more timeless than, well, hyper-realistic graphics. Mostly because it has an animated art style. Now, here's where my gripes come into play, because I'm a pretty big Borderlands fan. I've loved the first and the second game. The Handsome Jack game was a little meh. Just felt kind of flat. The pre-sequel just didn't really feel as good. So my first red flag of what was going on was, well, the voice actor for Claptrap has changed. Not saying that's a terrible thing. I understand sometimes things happen and you can't secure a voice actor. But when the person who originally played Claptrap said publicly, they just have to pay me now and they don't want to because, well, the guy who voiced Claptrap used to work for Gearbox and he used to do the voice acting for Claptrap just included in his yearly salary. Well, he no longer works for Gearbox, and now he wants paid to do the voice of Claptrap, and they're just like, no. Which kind of sucks, because Claptrap's like the iconic character for Borderlands. Whether you hate Claptrap's like one of the most easily recognizable things from the Borderlands universe. So having a voice of a giant main character change when you had all of the control to prevent it seems a bit odd. And I'm not saying that this new individual won't do a great job. I'm not saying that that's going to be the case at all. I'm just saying it seems a bit odd. And, well, as we all kind of know, I already hate Randy Pitchford. I always have hated Randy Pitchford, and I kind of view him as a used car salesman. I feel like he would do just about anything to save $1, even if that hurts the quality of his game. I also feel that he's probably one of the biggest liars in the video game industry, and would make up anything just to have you think his game is going to be super hyped. Hence, the other day, during the live stream, he was talking about how there would be no microtransactions, and now he's pissed at Game Informer because he's trying to say they quoted him out of context, which they didn't. He was talking about how free-to-play mechanics within a microtransactions within a free-to-play game can be kind of toxic and how poorly those go over. And then he followed up stating there wouldn't be microtransactions in Borderlands 3, and, well, unfortunately, you kind of can't really say that someone took you out of context because you were talking about something right before it, and that's a quote out of context. It's not. You just didn't really explain what you were doing in all clearness, which really bothers me, and it seems like a very Randy Pitchford thing to do, if we're being honest. So, in case you haven't guessed, there's going to be microtransactions in Borderlands. Yes, a looter-shooter single-player game, which the multiplayer is a campaign you play together. You don't play against each other. But this looter-shooter game, you can now buy cosmetics. And he was like, oh, you can only buy cosmetics. He's trying to, justify the thing. But let's be fair. We've heard so many bad things about Randy Pitchford. We've seen lawsuits against Randy Pitchford. We have seen him do terrible, terrible things. So if we're being fair, ruining a single-player game by throwing in these cosmetic purchases, and I'm not saying that they will be terrible. You could possibly, I guess, pull this off correctly as long as you don't go greedy about it. Like doing special occasion skins. Like, oh, we're doing a cancer awareness skin and it's It's probably not how it's going to be. I strongly doubt that is how it's going to work. But this is a looter shooter game. Part of the fun of it is knowing that the best loot you will ever get is in boxes and just randomly dropped throughout the world. This almost feels like that's going to be taken away from you. And maybe that's just where I sit with it. Maybe that's just what I think about it. But Gearbox has done some terribly shady things, and I'm going to assume most of which is due to Randy Pitchford, just because I really dislike the dude. Like, I really cannot explain to you, there is probably no one in the video game industry that I dislike more than Randy Pitchford, and Peter Molyneux probably takes nowhere near a close second. Nowhere near. You've seen Gearbox just do some really shady stuff in the past, like Aliens, Colonial Marines. That was their game. They barely did any of the work on. There's a lot behind that. If you don't remember that story, it's really not worth diving back into. Just know that they ripped off a lot of people out of their money and released a very broken game that shouldn't have been broken, because, well, the games that came before it were actually well received. But you slap Gearbox on it, and if they think they can take your money, they will. And that was actually a huge controversy at its time, let alone all of the fire Randy Pitchford has come under before, which, again, we're not going to jump into that. Maybe one day I will do solely a video on how terrible of a human being Randy Pitchford is. Randy Pitchford should probably be like the president of EA. That's how terrible he is. That is how miserable of a human being I find him to be. Guys, I am curious to where you sit on this. Do you think microtransactions, or even seeing that the voice of Claptrap has changed? And the reason why the Claptrap thing bothers me is it makes me feel like they're going to skimp out elsewhere. It makes me feel like they're going to cut corners just to get as high a profit margin as they can. And, well, that's kind of what loot boxes are cutting corners to get as much profit as you can. And there are games that do it okay. There are games that do it so it's not even really noticeable for you. And I get it. As a game company, you need more money. The cost of making a game has gone up. It has gotten astronomically more expensive as we create these huge, giant open worlds. You have more artists, more programmers, more bug fixers, so much more going into this. But don't you feel that the actual enjoyment of the game and your fans' happiness should be your first priority? Because eventually, what's going to happen is another video game boom, and you're eventually going to push everyone away from games. Sounds about right to me anyways. But guys, I am curious how you feel about this, so you can let me know down in the comment section down below. I would like to hear your opinions on this. Do you feel that Gearbox is already showing some bad tendencies? Do you feel that they would be willing to screw up Borderlands? I mean, that's like their one big series, so you would think they would really want to keep that put together, but who knows? Who knows with them? If you'd like to follow me anywhere else, links are as always in the description box down below. And if you love me a lot, you can always go over to my Patreon and become a pocket protector. That's essentially, it means you're a higher level of supporter. Guys, I will see you all soon. I have plenty more content coming for you. And don't forget to drop a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. And click the subscribe button if you're new. You can also click that little bell, and it'll notify you when I make more content. I'll see y'all soon, though.